Hello and welcome to the Learn English Football Podcast with me, your host, Tom, and with me is...
Tim. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Tim. How are you?
Good, good. It's been another exciting weekend of football.
Yes, it has, yes. And this, of course, is an Almería special podcast. We're going to talk about UDA, Unión Deportivo de Almería. I understand that you watched the last game, the fantastic victory against Sevilla, the 2-1 win at home.
Yes, I certainly did. It feels like Almería have really arrived in the big time after that result. It was an absolutely magical result for the club. It was on the last day of the local fair, which always brings a little bit of excitement to the city. And that, with the result, the first victory back in La Liga was just amazing. It was an amazing victory on the pitch, off the pitch, every aspect.
Tell me about the match, Tim. What was the game like? What did Almería deserve the victory?
Overall, I would say they did. It was not that simple though, and that made it even more impressive. I would say Sevilla started very strongly. They scored in the first half, and they could have scored more. The goalkeeper Fernando had a great game. Made a couple of really big saves, a couple of really brave saves. One where he took a kick in the head to save his goal. And he did, and it was amazing. So they've really got to thank Fernando in goal, but also Sevilla were wasteful. But at the same time, Almería dug in, and when I say to dig in, I mean to kind of create a defensive line and protect it with their lives. And they did that, and they got the rewards because just before the halftime, Ramazani scored a great goal. And it changed the game. You know, if you go into the halftime break, Tom, one goal down, it can be a little bit difficult. But that goal just before the halftime really raised the spirits in the stadium, in the city. Tom, it was the first goal that I heard sitting in my living room. I heard the stadium, and I live about 2 kilometers away from the stadium, and I heard a roar. And then about 5 seconds later, saw the goal on the television, and it was an absolute buzz. So that's half time, Tom. You can imagine 1-1 half time. It was a tense first.
When you say it was an absolute buzz, are you talking about a feeling of excitement?
Yes, it was a buzz. I was buzzing. The very common informal ways of saying I was having a great time. I was very excited. There was a feeling of excitement.
I have a question about the formation. I understand that Almería played a 3-4-1-2 system. Did that work for them? Tactically, did it seem like a strong formation for them?
I'm a big fan of this new formation. They've really sold me on how they're setting up. I think it allows the best players to bring their best to the pitch, and it also covers some of the weaknesses. Something I was going to talk about actually. For example, we've got players like Rodrigo Eli, who's a very organized player. He's got defensive skills. He helps the players around him, but he's got a physical limitation. And with two other centre backs around him, I think he's really able to show his best. And another player who really shone in this game was Akiemi, the left back, or he was a left back in a 4-man defense last season, and he was always good going forward, but he was a bit weaker behind. Now, of course, he's got 3 centre backs, so I think that left wing position's a bit more covered. And I think it really benefits the side. Another one I was going to mention was of course the assist maker Robertone, who seems to have a bit more freedom.
Playing in that one position behind the 2 strikers, is he?
Yeah, he is, and he seems to have a lot more freedom. He seems to be able to dictate the play a bit more without having to sacrifice maybe his movement sometimes to create defensive solidity. I think that's the main thing about this formation, Tom, is the defensive solidity that it gives means that other players can play their game without having to worry so much what's going on behind them, and that just frees them up and allows them to bring their best game to the pitch. It's fantastic.
On paper, it certainly looks like Almeria's strongest 11 players are all playing. When you see the midfield there, we've got Samu Costa in that holding midfield role in front of the back four, along with Akiemi, who's playing further forward, as you said. It seems that the best 11 players are on the team. Any players in particular? You've mentioned Akiemi, who stood out for you, and then the goalkeeper, of course, Fernando, who's been brilliant every game of this season so far. Were there any other players who caught your eye from the Almeria or the Sevilla team?
Well, moving on to the second half, Almeria continued to look dangerous. They'd gone in at 1-1. They'd used that momentum through the half-time to really change their mentality and come out looking to win the game. They weren't here just to survive. And that was where there were some great performances. Ramazani, of course, scored the goal. And Sadiq had another great game. He really is adding to his value on a weekly basis at the moment. He's doing things to La Liga defenders that people didn't know if he would be able to do it at that level. When he when he was embarrassing Segunda Division Liga's defenders last season, people were wondering if he could really bring that to the top level, and he's doing it. Some of those Sevilla defenders, they couldn't stop him. It was men against boys at one point. Robertoni, again mentioned before, and Hakimi, as I mentioned earlier, he's another player who this formation is really benefiting. He's always had that adventure going forward, and how he links in specifically with Ramazani. Ramazani last year had ability on the ball, but often felt quite closed in because there was also Hakimi trying to overlap on the left as well in the areas where Ramazani would be dangerous.
When you say closed in, you mean Ramazani didn't have enough space to use his speed?
Yes, exactly that. And because there were two Almeria players in that area, maybe there would be more defenders dragged over there as well. And I think the fact that those two players have been separated in terms of the areas of the pitch they're playing in, I think really benefits them, because they're both very physical players. They can both dribble. They can both beat a man. What's the mythical Seville right back? Is it Jesus Navas?
Jesus Navas, yes, fantastic player.
He was fantastic until Hakimi got his hands on him. He must have aged about 3 years in the first 30 minutes of the second half, and eventually he got a yellow card for a rash tackle. And he was substituted by Lopetegui shortly after. He really did have him on toast, as we would say, Tom. And to have someone on toast, what does it mean if he had him on toast?
I have another synonymous phrase. He had him in his pocket, meaning that
he had him in his pocket.
He dominated his opponent.
He certainly did. And it was wonderful to see these players who were playing attacking football in the second division, coming up to the top division, playing with no fear. And you've got to give the managers a lot of credit for that, bringing their top game when it matters at the very highest level. So fair play to them. In the second half, Almeria continued to look dangerous. Almeria have a very good way of turning possession into chances, even though if you look at the possession stats, it will tell you that Sevilla had over 60% possession. Almeria, I would say, had as many, if not more, good chances. They get the ball in defense, they give it to a Samu Costa or a Robertoni, and they go directly. And they're hard to stop with the physicality that we've previously mentioned. They're really making the most of their talent.
That's great to hear, and of course, getting the first win under the belt is great for the club's confidence in the Primera Liga. A la permanencia, as they say, to make it permanent. They want to stay up.
The survival. I think if you'd have offered any Almeria fan 4 points after 3 games, having played Real Madrid and Sevilla, I think they would have bitten your hand off, and that means accepted without question the opportunity. So the city's happy; it's absolutely buzzing. Tom, I hear you've been doing a bit of research into transfers. There's been some big transfers around, and we've been talking previously on previous shows about the domino effect, when one thing causes another thing to happen and then another thing to happen. And I hear the Isaac to Newcastle move may have been the first domino falling. Tom, can you give us a bit more information here, please?
Absolutely, yes. And basically the Swedish striker, Isaac, has joined Newcastle for 70 million euros. Alexander Isaac, 70 million euros, a huge amount of money. His club, Real Sociedad, now are sitting with a lot of cash in the bank, and they're looking for a striker. And we've been talking for the last couple of months about the possibility of Umar Sadiq moving on, leaving Almería. We've talked about the sporting director, Mohamed Al-Assi, has said that if the price is right, then Sadiq will go. And on the last episode of the podcast, we also talked about the problem Almería have with their wage bill. They have too many players receiving money from the club, and they need to get rid of some. In fact, they've got rid of a good 6 or 7 players on free transfers very recently. But Sadiq was the big player who they wanted to move on so that they could clear some space and bring some new players in. And it looks like that's going to happen. It looks like Real Sociedad they have just secured a big Norwegian striker called Alexander Sorloth, I believe. Sorloth, that's right. He's coming back to them from Leipzig, only on loan. But they're also looking for another striker, and their eye is on Umar Sadiq. The rumor seems to be well established in the newspapers. So I can't tell you that it's definitely going to happen, Tim, but it does seem in the next few days we will probably be getting some news that Umar Sadiq will be leaving. Just to give you an idea, his valuation, according to the website I use, Transfermarkt, is 18 million euros. So I would expect a price with all that money in their bank account could be close to 25 million euros that they're willing to spend. Real Sociedad are willing to spend on Umar Sadiq.
I think that is interesting. I think at this time in the late in the window, I think that Almería wouldn't accept 25. I think they'd be looking for upwards of 30, 35, 40. Do you know how much did they get for Darwin Nunez when he went to Benfica? Was that 25 million?
I believe they got between 23 and 25 million, but of course with the very lucrative sell-on clause, meaning that if Darwin Nunez goes to another club, then Almería will receive an extra payment.
I've heard it said that Almería wouldn't sell Sadiq for less than they got for Darwin. But I think the other thing is Ruby, the manager, after the Seville game, did actually come out and say at this point in the window, what we really need to assess the value of money in the bank. Because money in the bank doesn't get you 3 points on a Sunday afternoon, like as the fixtures are played here on Sundays. So if I were Ruby with a rich owner like Almería have, I would be really wondering if selling is a good plan. Because you think, Tom, how many points is Sadiq going to win alone? Just for Almería this season, you've got to be looking 10 points with individual moments of brilliance that win games or get a draw over the course of the season. That is invaluable.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Times when he might get the winning goal or with a piece of magical play, create an important assist for a teammate. Yes, at least 10 points he might be worth to the team. So I totally understand Ruby's position. He doesn't want to lose his most dangerous striker. Having said that, it's not really in Ruby's hands. The man who's handling the finances or the team there will be thinking about how they can maximize, get the most out of this team. And I have a feeling that Umar Sadiq's wages will be too much to keep on the bill. I think he will be going.
Quite possible. Okay then, Tom, is there any more transfer news? The good, I suppose, transfer news this week has been that Almería have been successful in registering the vast majority of their transfers. There's one player who's injured long-term who they're not going to register. But apart from that, it's been a good week. It's been a fantastic victory. The transfers are looking successful. We'll keep our fingers crossed that Sadiq stays at the club. Any other business, Tom? Or any other
yes, there has been some business. Yes, the other goalkeeper, the second choice goalkeeper, Makaridze, has gone now. But in his place, we've got a goalkeeper from Alaves called Fernando Pacheco. He's come in, and there's also some exciting talk of a Brazilian striker,
yes, I've
Kevin
been reading a young
Vinicius.
Brazilian.
Yeah, not the Vinicius who's at Real Madrid, but this is a young striker who apparently he's done very, very well for the Brazilian under-18 team, as well as the youth team of Corinthians, who are, of course, one of the Sao Paulo giant clubs. So Almeria are very excited. He's 19 years old now.
There are very few things in football more exciting than a young Brazilian striker coming to your club. So that sounds fantastic.
That's right. He's not the tallest player. He's 1 meter 69. So we can imagine, though, if he's Brazilian and he's only at that height, then he must have a lot of technical ability in terms of putting speed and precision with his passing and shooting, and probably keeping the ball in close control. So he's one to look for in the future. Very exciting prospect, Kevin Vinicius.
Okay, yes, that is exciting. That is exciting. Definitely one to look out for.
Anything else, Tim, about Almeria, or do you feel we've done enough on this?
I think we've done enough.
episode?
Only to say the next game, of course, is away at Valladolid, of course, who are owned by Brazilian Ronaldo. He's the club owner. But apart from that, this is the kind of game that Almeria will be looking to get something from if they want to have a good season. And I think they're going to use the momentum from the last game, and I would back them, and I'm going to say they're going to get a 2-1 victory.
Wow.
Any predictions for the Valladolid away game?
You know what? I feel that Almeria, they've got their tails up. What do I mean by that? They've got their tails up.
They're feeling confident.
That's right. A little bit like a dog wagging his tail. They're feeling excited, confident, happy. That Seville win will give them a huge confidence boost. So I agree with you, Tim. I think Almeria are going to steal an away win. But as we know, La Liga is very tight. So like yourself, I would say they're just going to win by the odd goal. Maybe 2-1, maybe 1-0.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's hope we're right. Okay then, Tom. So thanks a lot. That's all we've got time for the Almeria Football Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see each other soon.
See you soon. Thank you to our listeners.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.